Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Eddie Hearn was losing, but he's just totally lost now. You know, someone should tell Eddie Hearn to shut up. Stay from in front of the camera. Learn how to deal with the media. He needs media training. And just don't answer questions on anything pertaining to Conor Ben. You know, he's doing such a poor job of defending Conor Ben that he just, it's best to just avoid those questions. If there are things that, you know, he can't talk about, then he just shouldn't talk at all. Okay? So he's out here doing interviews and he's talking about the situation with Conor Ben. And he keeps he has this thing he keeps saying about the levels that they found in Conor Ben were so low that it's not that big of a concern. And how they talked to Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Ben spoke to him. Chris Eubank Jr. was like, okay, no problem, understood the situation, was cool with moving forward. Said that, Eddie Hearn talking about they had their guys look at it, their lawyers, their scientists. Now he's saying there, right? I'm like, well, I mean, if you're using your own people, then of course they're going to see what they want you to see, what you want them to see, right? That's what I would think. Then he goes on and says how, you know, Chris Eubank Jr.'s team, and they talk to their scientists and they talk to medical experts and lawyers, and they said the traces found in Conor Ben were so low that it wouldn't affect his performance at all. I mean, it's like, just because the levels were low at the time, it's like in Eddie Hearn's world, this is why he needs to just shut up. Eddie Hearn, in his world, it's like the test doesn't mean anything to him. In addition, and probably even of more concern, it's like he refuses to acknowledge that the levels may have been higher prior to the test. So what that tells you, and then also they said this is something that can hang around the system for a long time. This is something Eddie Hearn said. He's like, yeah, that's something that just could be in the system for a long time. Now, when he said that, I was like, my man, you should shut up, because you're almost saying like the guy drank alcohol and, you know, he went there to take a urinalysis. Yeah, he wasn't drunk anymore and everything, but he did have, you know, a little rum and coke, 4 days ago, but it's still a little bit of the alcohol in his system. We're not talking about taking a drink. You know, we're not talking about smoking weed, puffing chowa. You understand? Talking about, man, taking a damn pit. And if that's something that can just hang around your system for a while, that means he's been taking it for a while. So now you're peeling the layers back and opening doors for people to enter inside and say, okay, well, how long can this stay in the system? And this our timetable and things are saying, wow, that's around the time where he was fighting so-and-so. So it's like basically a failed test is not a failed test depending on the level of the drug detected. And that's exactly what he's doing. It's like he's poorly clearing that up. Like he's just making himself look crazy. And the way I describe it is he's drinking water. Somebody needs to save him. I mean, he's drowning. He's sinking quickly. Get in there, get his ass out the water, get him from in front of the camera. Because it is ridiculous, man. You know, when a man starts talking about, oh, we have our own scientific experts looking into this, and we know this is something that we need to get down to. When they start talking about their own scientists looking into it, you know it's going to be a cover-up. Because this is, for Eddie Hearn, letting this fight go forward, which is what he was trying to do, it would have been an earn, a big money earn for fast-talking Hearn. That's exactly what was coming up, man. It's crazy, man. You know, what I don't understand, if we talk about the levels of this specific drug, right? Clomiphene, whatever it's called. There are certain levels with almost any drug when it comes to VADA testing, UKAD testing, right? That are deemed acceptable. Okay? There are certain levels that are deemed acceptable and are already set in stone prior to testing. But if you pop, right, that means you've exceeded the acceptable amount. So Eddie Hearn must think that, you know, we all have thick skulls. We're a bunch of dunce. We're all doltish, right? You think these people are just going to make up an acceptable level after someone pops? Oh, who popped? Oh, Conor Ben? Oh, Conor Ben is a big fight. What's his levels? What traces were found in him? Okay. Yeah, that's acceptable. It's not a big deal. Yeah, the scientist said it really shouldn't affect his performance. That's not how it works. Let's not take it to the stupid, okay? Who had the bowl of dumbass for breakfast? And that's what I want to make sure you guys understand. Because sometimes we can just get caught up with that kind of superficial kind of details and the topical conversations, right? But we need to drill down a few layers, you know, and to really understand. When it comes to these drugs, right, that are off limits, right, that are illegal based on VADA, whatever the VADA deems is illegal and what UKAD deems is illegal, right? We need to understand that there are certain levels that are already acceptable, okay? Once you pop for a positive test, that means you have something in your system that's a level that exceeds the acceptable amount. That's why Eddie Hearn should just shut up. You know? It's crazy, man. Eddie Hearn's just lying to the public, man. He knows better. It's just crazy. But with a drug like this, you know, the implications are far more important than the level, you know? Honestly. Why even take something like that? Okay, so we need to understand the implications. Forget the level, okay? Let's say there's a minuscule amount, or let's say there's a grand amount. But set that aside. What are the implications? I'm going to tell you what the implications are. The implications is that you're using steroids, and then post-cycle, right? You take this stuff to keep your nuts and your blood levels right. So he's taking steroids. Then he takes this shit to cover it up. And he wants to keep everything else right. But I guess you could use that clomiphene or whatever that's called. I guess you could use it standalone, but then, you know, why not do roids while you're at it? You know what I'm saying? It covers it up. Illegal is illegal. You know, what are we doing having a conversation like what? There's no argument. You know? And this is what it's really shaping up to look like, is that he had that in his system to mask the fact that he was coming off of a cycle of doing steroids or PEDs, taking PEDs. And that is just shame on Conor Ben. Now, or his team, right? Because, you know, maybe he didn't know. Maybe he didn't know. Kind of hard to believe he didn't know. But, man, when you have that stuff in your system, it's twice now. So what that tells me is he wasn't just taking clomiphene. I honestly think this, right? Honestly, this is what I think. I think he's taking some heavy. I think he's taking some heavy shit. Hard PEDs. Some real aggressive PEDs that turn him into an alien. Okay? I honestly believe that. And he's been and the reason why he's popped hot twice for this clomiphene, because it masks all that. I honestly believe that. And I honestly believe Eddie Hearn knows that when it comes to VADA, And it comes to UKAD, that's stuff that could pop on VADA and be illegal. It could affect him in the States, but over in the UK, it doesn't. And Eddie Hearn really thought, because he even said this, Saunders popped for something on VADA, but UKAD doesn't recognize VADA. So he was able to fight, based on, the British Board of Boxing. He was able to still fight because they don't recognize VADA. UKAD doesn't recognize VADA. And when Eddie Hearn is talking about this, he's saying it like UKAD and VADA are both, or like UKAD is wrong because they let it go forward before. It's like he's blaming UKAD now. Well, look, what are we doing? You've kind of set a precedence. So why now are you coming and saying that the fight shouldn't go forward? Like, he's really turning this around on UKAD. Instead of really looking at it and saying, you know what, we have someone here, something's not right, he popped hot on his test, we need to just pull his fight. No, he's looking at himself, he's looking at money. He knows Conor Ben's on steroids. I don't care what he says. Now, if Conor Ben's talking about, hey, people are going to have to come out and apologize. Well, hey, man, you got to provide the proof. But right now, I'm not seeing any way for him to climb out this hole. And like I said, that ship is sinking. It really is sinking, man. It's sad. It's crazy. How is everyone from Eubank Jr. and his team and Conor Ben and his team, everyone comfortable with the levels found? Look, there should be no levels found. Eddie Hearn is just struggling at the moment, man. It's not an adverse finding. It's a positive drug test from taking PEDs. Eddie Hearn with this shit, it's just an adverse finding. No, man, it's a positive drug test from taking PEDs. And he's not innocent until proven guilty. He's already been found guilty by testing positive. Man, I don't know what to think anymore at all, man. It's like Eddie Hearn is like, to me, is the equivalent of like a man who fails a drink, one of those intoxication tests. If you're drinking alcohol, man, they come out and have you do what is that damn test called? A sobriety test? He fails the test and wonders why he can't drive home. You know what I'm saying? Really, really ridiculous, man. And when he comes and he keeps saying, Conor Ben passed all of his UKAD tests. Okay. He means the one and only time UKAD tested him for this fight. I mean, come on, man. Imagine going to a fight like this, jumping up 2 weight divisions and only getting tested once by the official testing body. That's something else people didn't know. Conor Ben only got tested once by UKAD for this fight. See? Right there towards the end. Nothing showed up. Makes you wonder. Who does Eddie Hearn have in his hip pocket? Big fight of this magnitude, you're going to wait to test him after he's taken the clomiphene and got all that stuff masked. And you know it's not going to show up on the UKAD test. But VADA got you. It almost makes you wonder, why the hell did you sign up for VADA? Maybe because you thought you could beat the test. Maybe because they beat VADA testing before. It just, this time it didn't work out. Maybe VADA has made some improvements over there in the way they administer tests. But Eddie Hearn, to me, looks more bewildered than anything, because it's like he's going through absolute mind-boggling mental gymnastics in the interview. But he won't go do an interview with Talk Sport. I'll tell you that right now. Those guys over there are ruthless. Watch Eddie Hearn go to Talk Sport. They will shred him. Those guys are deadly, man. I wouldn't even want to go on there. Eddie Hearn is a good talker, but he won't be able to talk himself out of that one, man. Liar, 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 man. It's crazy. It's crazy. I can imagine Eddie Hearn being in court And the judge, Eddie Hearn would say to the judge, well, do you have any evidence? The judge says, yeah, we have a failed drug test. And Eddie Hearn would say that, oh, that's not evidence. You know what I'm saying? Like, he would argue with the judge. That's how ridiculous it is. You got to have accountability for yourself and for your fighter. And in this instance, there was just no accountability for Eddie Hearn to himself and to his fighter. It's crazy, man. Talking about everyone knew. Everyone knew. No, man. The people who are paying for this fight. Guys like me and a lot of other people out here just making videos in their free time because they love boxing. We didn't know. People who are going to, watch the fight. All these different reporters who flew over there, all the different fans who flew over to the UK to watch it. That's horrible, man. You know how much, look at the price of the ticket. Price to get into the, price of the flight, price of the ticket, hotel room, food, car, so the entire per diem, right? All travel expenses. Just to find out it's canceled, you got to come back. Some people use that for holiday, you know what I mean? I know they got Nottingham Carnival coming up. Big Caribbean festival, right? If they have a big fight around that time, I would line up a little trip to Nottingham. Boom, go out there, catch a little Caribbean, Trinidad Carnival, a little Caribbean festival. Boom, hit the boxing match and come back. But I would be sour if I did that, even though I had come out there for a twofold reason. Still, to miss out on the boxing, because, boxing is everything, man. And to come out there now and have to come back and miss out on that opportunity because of this liar. It's crazy. So I'm not going to waste too much more time on this. I think everybody kind of got the gist, man. Eddie Hearn was just trying to cash out Conor Ben and I think Eubank Jr., but I think Conor Ben as quickly as possible. I knew that I think it's just possibly that he knew the injunction he had on the Daily Mail flopped. And the story was going to be released, so I think he just thought he could try to push the fight through real quick, make his little bit of money, and then deal with the fallout after. But that's just not how it worked. UKAD, the British Board of Boxing and Control, got some pressure, and it forced those guys to not move forward with the fight. Crazy. Willing to put a fighter on pads, end up with a weight drain fighter with the dehydration clause imposed on him. Make of that what you will. That being said, shout out to the veterans. Shout out to everybody across all 7 continents. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe and like. Y'all keep cool. I'm going to go off and get into the breeze. Eddie Hearn, I'm sure, is going to be getting into another big bowl of dumbass because he's going to be doing interviews over the weekend. And I'll be right there to check some of them out and bring y'all my opinion. Thanks for your support. Keep safe. I'm in the breeze.